Welcome to the DevReady podcast. Today we have Martin Batur here from GigSuper. Welcome, Martin. Thanks for joining us.
Good afternoon, gents.
Cheers,
Nice
mate.
to have you here.
Yes, nice and close. He lives around the corner from the office, so it's quite handy for getting down here. Martin, GigSuper. So, what is it all about, and how did it come about in the first place?
Oh, it's a big old story.
Yeah.
GigSuper is a super fund built for self-employed people. We started out on our journey about 2 years ago and managed to launch the fund at the beginning of this year.
So 2 years and then to launch. So you started out, what's your background? I see you've been in IG markets for quite a bit. How did you get involved in that super side of things?
Yeah, I'm an engineer by education, but sort of never actually worked as an engineer. Got into finance sort of after university and got working for a sort of, I guess at the time, a sort of high-tech retail finance business called IG. And so I was sort of there for 10 years and had seen a company grow from, essentially pen and paper trading to having sort of sophisticated online trading with some pretty impressive technology.
Yeah, so you would have seen a big difference from paper and then all the technology that came about. How do they go about doing it? Mentioned you were in the Australian office, UK-based business. Was the technology just pushed down and you utilised it? What did it look like?
Yeah, it was definitely came out of the UK. But sort of as dealers at the time, there's a lot of sort of user input. It was probably more tech guys than there were trading guys.
Okay.
But that domain knowledge definitely came off the floor. And so a lot of the business managers eventually who went upstairs came from the dealing desk. And it's just taken those insights, those insights that the dealer had from the customer, was able to sort of take upstairs to tech teams and build technology, during a pretty hectic time. That technology got built a lot during the GFC. So, you go from, so it's probably, I guess, situation-led. In a way. I reckon that technology could have ticked over for a long time or for a few more years the way it was, except, the GFC volumes would have increased, thousandfold.
Just before.
And so technology, you sit there and you go, right, if we're going to grow as a business, and the business is growing during that period, and so they would have, the people at the time would have, realised that for that business to, I guess, keep up with demand, technology needed to keep up with that demand. You couldn't scale that business by having more tech staff. We had to basically replicate ourselves out of a business.
And that's where the domain knowledge comes into software. It's not just a developer can make something without knowing everything around the outside of it. So you need the domain knowledge of the person to be able to help with that.
Oh, I'd go so far as say it's impossible.
Yeah, well, so would we.
So in terms of you were a part of a tech business really that serviced a trading platform, etc. So did you get really GigSuper? How did you come up with the idea? So it's supporting the gig economy. It's helping people that generally work for themselves, trying to establish a super account, and educating them on that. So where did the idea come about, and when did you first start really investing and researching the market?
Yeah, it actually came about through one of our old sort of IG colleagues who had left the business and started work for a company in the UK who had signed a deal with Uber. So just out of interest, I'd Google the company he was working for.
Okay.
And the first thing that came up in their SEO on a search was that particular company signing a pension deal with Uber to help Uber drivers kickstart their sort of UK pension saving.
Okay.
And Uber had just sort of made a bit of a splash out in Oz, and it was just a bit of a look to see if anybody had done something similar out here. And I guess that was the first kernel of an idea. Copy someone in the UK. Thanks for that.
It can be a good learning. A lot of just taking technology from one country to another can be quite lucrative in terms of like your Netflix has been copied throughout Asia and done quite well for quite a few different people. So yeah, copying technology is definitely an interesting way to look at it.
Yeah, it was not so much copying the technology, but it was that a lot of similarities between how the UK. I mean, we are descendants of the
correct
of the UK system, and so their pension scheme not too dissimilar, not as great as ours, but not dissimilar. And if somebody over there was going to do that with Uber, then the feeling was
there's an
opportunity here in Australia. And so we got started on that, and my sort of co-founder and I just started to wade through all the research materials, and we got a little bit lucky.
Okay.
I mean, I think we got a little bit lucky a lot, which I think is really important. But there was ASFA, who are sort of like the industry body for super funds, and produced 2 fantastic reports. I mean, if we were to commission 2 reports to justify the validity of our business, we would have asked for those 2 reports.
Okay.
And they were, super and the self-employed. I probably know the report off by heart by now. We've used it so often, but it went through, and there were some massive takeaways from that report. One would have been, 2 come to mind. That despite the tax benefits in super, self-employed people don't contribute. And will sort of struggle to have a comfortable retirement. Paraphrasing, but that came out of it, and as well as the superannuation products weren't mature for self-employed people. And so when we looked at those 2, that's supply and demand. There were a lot of self-employed people out there, 1.3 million, and
it's quite a big number, isn't it? Yeah,
it's a big number, and when you get into a business. Initially, you're looking for that growth story, and I just
growth story. What's a growth story, mate?
Growth?
Growth story. You mentioned it.
Well, I mean, for us, it was, are there going to be more or less self-employed people in 10 years' time?
Yeah. Okay.
Is your target market going to grow, or is it going to shrink?
Yep.
And I just, anecdotally, we felt like there is no way that we're going to be pushed, out of self-employment. If anything, technology will push people into technology.
Gig economy, as they call it, is just growing everywhere, and the peer-to-peer thing, like you said, with the Uber drivers, Airbnbs, all that sort of stuff.
A lot more consulting roles these days, so people with domain knowledge coming out, doing a lot of consulting in their 40s, 50s, walking out of corporate, so it is shifting, the models are changing.
And it was interesting, I'm sort of a fan of history, but, it's I think we're always self-employed. From the day we sort of walked out of the cave, we were self-employed, and it was only until the Industrial Revolution where people pushed out of self-employment and into a payroll position.
I suppose people's family names was their job back in the day.
Exactly, it probably helped with payroll.
Yeah, every carpenter's a carpenter.
And so a quote somewhere saying, is the digital revolution pushing people back into self-employment? Do we have enough tools now as the individual to be able to run a successful business?
Yeah, and deliver value at a different level, right?
Absolutely.
And there's so much that people can niche in these days. There's so many opportunities out there, and digital's creating a lot more opportunities and jobs. I think if you look at the numbers, it's creating significant amount of jobs and shifting the way we work, and that's going to continue. So if you can pick a market and work in it, you'll do quite well if you own it. Because in corporate world, like we're finding, they're miles behind in terms of what's going on, and they're just trying to keep up, but they've got this ever incumbent sort of way that they work, right? So they've got structured silos, and then getting out of that gives you more flexibility. So it's a very interesting conversation.
And those businesses aren't geared to pivot quickly. No. They've got their bureaucracy and red tape in the way.
Yep.
So a decision has to go up 10 times up the tree and then come back, get resubmitted 3 times before anyone can actually decide on something.
And it might take 18 months to roll out something, should have taken a month.
Yep.
And that's not an economy we can continue to work in if we're looking for innovation and technology, right?
And I suppose the individual himself, right? You go to work and you the 9 to 5, that structured lifestyle, battling traffic to work, battling traffic home, not seeing the family. If you can unlock those shackles a little bit and have that freedom and flexibility to work for yourself and be able to produce the results that you want to produce, that's a winner on both fronts, right? And just in terms of your own satisfaction as a person, if you can then go and make a living out of that and succeed financially, at least equal to if not better, then why wouldn't you move out?
Yeah, interesting point. So you obviously see it as a growth market. So the idea, did some research. So the first thing was research. How long did you spend in research land, looking at what was happening in the trajectory of what was going on, stats, articles, what were you doing? How long was that investment?
Yeah, so the prudent answer would say here that we were heavy on research. And so we spent 6 months going through every report. We were actually on holiday when we conceived the idea. We bought the domain name before we landed. And then the research came later.
Yeah, nice. That's right. Mostly how it all starts.
The domain name's not a big commitment. That's all right.
Yeah, exactly. But, I think you need to be a little bit irrational to start a business. I'm not sure you do everything right initially. I think you go back and you fill in the cracks.
Yep.
But you gotta trust your instinct a bit and make some of those decisions that somebody who, the rational corporate might not, but the irrational individual who is willing to pivot and have a swing. We researched. We researched enough, but it wasn't like we went through a research phase and then went out and tried to do stuff. I think we still almost got building straight away.
Okay. So you jumped straight into tech at some point?
Yeah.
Yeah. How did you go about that? So you mentioned off the conversation around the story brand and how you talk about your brand and how you communicate with your customer. Did it start from there when you design your product, or was it really just get into tech, find a development company? How did you go about it?
Yeah, we definitely didn't do that right.
Okay.
In hindsight, looking back now, we did the things we were good at.
And which were?
Which is product.
Yep.
Okay.
So, we focused a lot of time and effort on the things that we were confident to do on our own, and also confident to share with potential investors.
Okay.
Yep.
And so, we got stuck into, being able to pick holes in other super funds' insurance policies, for example, and go, look at this award-winning super fund. If you're self-employed, you're not covered.
Okay.
Wow. That kind of stuff. We're good at that. We're good at our own sort of using personal stories to design product too. Both. So my parents retired during the GFC, and so they saw their sort of retirement saving take a big old whack just as they approach retirement. And so, for people who might not be so market savvy, we feel like if you do have a lower super balance, if you are approaching retirement, the reality is you're going to be either fully or part funded by pension. And so having your super exposed to the market at that age might not be
the best decision.
Right? If you are got a bigger super fund balance and you're able to ride the waves, and I mean, but obviously seek personal advice. But if you're not sure, the prudent thing to do would be sort of de-risk someone as they approach retirement.
How far out would you say? I've read some books on this, and it gave an example. I think there was two cases. One approached retirement, retired on the wave up. One retired on the wave down. 10 years in, one ran out of money. And 10 years in, the other one had $1 million still in their savings. Very interesting, as timing can actually impact.
A lot of people will crystallise their balance and take it out as cash. And I think one thing that we haven't done, we're probably digressing a little bit, but one thing that we probably haven't done particularly well is focus on the pension phase of super. I think we're really good at the accumulation phase. And we are an accumulation product.
Yes.
But, there's a lot of innovation to be done around the pension phase, and and you can't just start having that conversation at 65.
It's too late to do anything by then.
Well, it's not too late, but you just don't have the relationship. It'd be great if you had that relationship with your super fund when you're 55, and start those the tough questions,
right?
Right, like, hey, you got a lot of equity in your home, but you can't eat the bricks. What do you plan to do? Not everyone wants to sell their family home. There's a lot to be done before retirement, but I guess that's not where our product lies, and I'll probably leave that for someone else.
Yeah, no, that's fine. So you're obviously focusing on the self-employed. Now, from a self-employed perspective, you mentioned a little bit earlier that they're not educated on super, they're not maybe investing in super. You also mentioned one thing about they may not be, their insurance might be a challenge if they're self-employed within super funds. Just dive a little bit on that, because I think it's good information for people listening long term anyway.
Yeah, that's sort of going back to us, focusing on product. And that was a really easy. I mean, you look at the things that, the products that you buy in super, and really you buy an investment portfolio, and you buy an insurance policy for a lot of people. And the origins of superannuation are such that self-employed people sort of get phased out. So, if you go into, so the research there was, you go into, all the super funds, top 10, download their insurance guides, do a quick Control F, self-employed, and see what it says. Okay. And, a lot of them had, carve-outs where, especially around sort of TPD, so your total and permanent
disability side, yep.
And, looking at that, and it was a stark difference between an employee not being able to work in their usual role, whereas a self-employed person, well, what do you actually do? Who's, so their hurdle was to say, have you lost, 2 of feet, hands, eyes, to be able to claim?
So you have to have lost 2 of any of those.
2 of any of those 6,
Yeah, interesting. So they've obviously found a problem here in a market. So that's where product focus is, finding a problem. There's a niche that we can walk into and actually solve and help some people.
Yeah, that's what we thought.
Okay.
That's what we thought. So we went out and said, hey, let's go start speaking to some insurers.
Yep.
Let's go start speaking to some sort of investment design people to see what a life stage product might look like. And, of course, that has to be wrapped up in an app. Otherwise, you're not solving anyone's problem. So it was like, what does that app user experience look like? And that's where we sort of got into sort of tech side.
Yep. So then app user experience, what did you do? Did you start sketching, wireframing your own stuff, planning it out, or did you go straight and get some help?
Stealing ideas from other apps that you liked, or?
We, I think Pete went and downloaded some Keynote wireframes.
Oh yeah,
it worked well.
Yeah. Got to start somewhere.
We've got to start somewhere.
Yeah.
We did. We borrowed.
Yeah.
We borrowed. Who's doing customer onboarding well. And at the time, sort of Acorns had come out. To Australia, and we felt that they had a really, really cool onboarding component. So we just went through, again, product. We worked out, maybe a little bit anecdotally, but we said, self-employed, and we were self-employed at the time.
Okay.
We were in a partnership, so we'll start, like cash
in
flow.
the own target market.
So we were in the own target market. I can't say that superannuation was big on our list, but we were probably a typical self-employed person. We'd had just gone out as a partnership, and we were just more worried about, actually winning jobs.
Bringing cash in and revenue.
Paying super, let alone paying ourselves.
And
so, we went and designed, what are some of the issues? And for us, cash flow. Cash flow was a big problem for us. And so we thought, what would a cash flow solution look like for a super product?
Interesting.
And so we put some product design ideas around that. And, went off and found a UX UI guy. And got really lucky on our third attempt.
On our third attempt, okay. I love it. So attempt 1 and 2 we won't talk about.
No.
Yeah, that's fine. So what did you learn from attempt 1 and 2 that got you onto the third one that actually worked for you?
What made it lucky?
Oh, we're a sucker for a good bloke.
Okay.
Yeah. We met this guy. He'd just moved to the country from Brazil.
Okay.
And was incredibly passionate about his results, the work he did. And, I think we just went on a bit of gut feel. It felt a lot less transactional.
Which is what you want, right?
Yeah, it's a partnership with anyone you're working with, really.
Yeah, you know, we're big on that.
Yeah.
You know, is this person a missionary or a mercenary?
Yeah.
And they sort of show themselves pretty quickly, one or the other. And you know, we found a really good UX UI guy who, you know, was able to sort of sit down with us, and we ran him through what we thought a product solution looked like.
So from his perspective, did he shape the product with you, or did you take wireframes and he made them look pretty? What was the direction?
It was collaborative.
Yep.
You know, I'm not sure where his last count is, but he's version control freak, and I reckon he's got over 500.
Yeah, nice. All right. So it's always evolving.
It is forever evolving. And that was before we coded.
I think we've seen some of those designs, and the file names get interesting.
Yeah, they get pretty funky.
So there's an important point there. Sure. So you designed your UX, UI, high fidelity, full graphic designs before you wrote a single line of code.
Correct.
Yeah. What made you make that decision?
Didn't know how to code.
Okay, so you knew you could focus on a UI.
Yeah, because that was where your strengths lied. You had some power in that space, effectively.
Yeah, I felt like I could control that more.
Yeah. If you could code, you probably would have been dived right in.
I would have dived right in. Totally.
Okay. All right.
But it was probably as a result of the strength in the business at the time. And again, it was, you know, you're forever trying to, you know, put assets in the coffers to go show investors.
Yes.
And so we felt, you know, you go and put some code down, it's not going to get you as far as if you go put some shiny wireframes together.
Yes.
Yeah, most people respond to the visual.
Yeah.
There's a lot of code that no one ever sees that does a lot of stuff, but it doesn't get anyone excited.
No. Totally.
Yeah.
That's
the bad thing with what we do.
Sort of back end guys.
You need a designer to come in and make it look pretty, then all of a sudden, oh my God, it's amazing.
And that's what we did. We sort of went out and we built the first crack at it. And looking back now, you know, it evolved, like we said, into 500 and something versions. But it was only until we really adopted a guide mentality that things started to come together.
Okay.
And I do this presentation where I show what our home screen looked like pre-guide and post-guide mentality.
Okay.
And you know that's a real stark differentiator between the two mentalities. Like one of them was, you know, the pre-guide.
So you're talking about UX UI guide, just for everyone listening. What are you referring to when you talk about guide?
Oh, we talk about guide as in, you know, being the guide. And you need to, well, in our product, you know, what we are is we're not the hero.
Yes.
You know, the hero is the self-employed guy who's gone out on his own, and guy, girl, who's gone out on their own and making a fist of it. And like, we know how hard that is. And the last thing they want is to be presented with a whole heap of complexity. Because complexity is the problem. And so if you go and well, it's the villain in their story. And if you go and add to the complexity, I think you're not helping anyone. And you know, we did it naturally. I think it was a natural skill in the business was to become a guide and adopt the guide mentality. And we did that by taking away a lot of the features that we really liked. That just we really liked.
Yes, it didn't solve the problem for your user.
You know, and we took those away and we automated more of those features. For example, we had, you know, one of the features was, you know, our super fund comes with two accounts. So as we talked about before, you've got the super account. Before the super account, we have a saver account, which is where the money goes in initially. And the idea there was going to solve a cash flow problem. Because you put that money in, you want to have, with us, you have the fallback of saying, geez, I've just put $1,000 into the saver account, into super. Something's happened in my business, in my life. I'd really like that money back. If that money goes straight into super, you can't get it back.
It's gone. Yes.
But if it's in the saver account, you know, you can just withdraw it.
Okay, so you approached it trying to keep that cash flow accessible to a point.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's like a temporary, it's going towards the super, just not yet.
Yeah.
Yes.
And we started out as an idea, and then you go, okay, how do you what's that user experience like? And it started out being just, hey, you can put money into this account, and then when you want, you can put money into the other account, into your super account. And yes, that does go some of the way.
Yes.
To solve the problem of cash flow, but what it didn't do was solve the problem of complexity.
Still complex.
It's still complex.
Yep.
When should I put money in? How much should I leave in my saver account? When should I move the money from the saver to the super?
Yep.
And all that was on the direction of the user.
Yeah, if the user have to make too many decisions, then they're not going to make any.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, we tackled some things, but we didn't but we were exacerbating the problems in other ways.
Interesting.
And so we went back and said, okay, what would you tell somebody verbally? Tell someone, and I was going, oh, look, maybe you should save weekly. Look, every quarter, you should not let that balance grow too big because it's actually just a bit of a cash drag sitting in cash.
Yes.
Maybe you should put that money into super because there it starts to grow it's exposed to higher growth market products. Do that quarterly because it gets away the temptation of spending a bigger pile of cash, right? And so, maybe you should do that. Hey, leave some money in the saver account because just in case you don't want to put every dollar in.
Yep.
Because you're going to start building it up again. But don't start from zero, and don't forget to claim your tax deductions, which was another feature of the problem that we'd found out during the research. And just being able to explain that to somebody, we said, okay, let's take that that sort of guided advice and code it, or turn that into the user experience.
And that was where you looked at automating it rather than trying to educate everybody on how you could go about this.
Either like a wizard, someone can step through. They probably ask them those questions.
We have a 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
We have a 1, 2, 3 wizard where all those things that I said previously get sort of automated or you guide it through.
Yeah.
And we've gone out on a limb and said, look, we think this is the best user experience for a self-employed person who wants to start doing something about their super.
Okay.
Yep.
So when you've gone through this process, this journey UX, telling a story, guiding a person through the journey of setting up a super account, getting it all structured, at what point did you start actually developing something? How far in?
Yeah, there was a bit of overlap between when we were totally, utterly happy with the wireframes and coding because you just, doing that linearly would have just taken too long.
Yeah, get it.
Yep.
So there was a point you started developing something.
Look, we had to get some rubber on the road.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you can sit there. The beauty about coding is like once it gets coded, you're not going to want to make changes. But when you're sitting there as a shiny little wireframe,
continue to perfect this. Yeah.
And I'm like the Enneagram 1 in the business, which means that nothing's ever perfect enough. And so, that was my big problem.
Okay, get it. So you spent, just give us some time frames. So you spent 3 months, 6 months, 12 months UX. What did you do?
9 months, I would have said, was in getting really happy
with the product, UX and the way you're telling the story.
Yep.
Okay. And development started like 6 months into that.
Yeah, development probably there's a bit of overlap. So we put some rubber on the road and started getting some of the elements down. And from go to woe, I reckon that was about 18 months.
Did you come into the problem where things were getting done development-wise, and then the UI was forcing them to update and change again, or was like what was made was locked away and you move forward?
We made a couple. The guide stuff.
Yeah.
I think we'd already started coding before we'd actually fully embraced the code bit.
Get it.
And so the guide bit. And so we went back and paid for variation because we were so adamant that I had to go in.
Yep. There is a point where you obviously have to start moving and developing something. But I think these stories are very interesting one and different to a lot of startup founder journeys where they attempt to start developing straight away. I think you took some good points out of this. You took what you knew you could actually do within the business, where you thought you could add value, design the product, do the research, understand the problem, and you really looked after that part of the process before you developed anything. So some stories we've had in the past are people just get a paper and pen out and talk to a developer. You took a very different approach, which is not one we've heard of so far. You went to a UX, UI guy, and you started there. So it's a very different conversation.
If I'm going to go out and do my own startup again, I'm just going to start coding straight away. That's my strength. But that's not always the right approach.
Yeah, but as a non-tech, if you're listening in doing this, I think you started in a reasonable way because you tried to understand the product, the market, the users, the problem, and how you could best deliver a solution to that problem. Not, all right, we need something for the GigSuper economy. Let's go build something. Let's find some APIs, integrate with some banks, etc. You didn't start there, which is very interesting take. Probably got you so far to where you are now.
Ask the right questions and find the right problem.
And I think
that's what a lot of people miss.
And I think our, the product that we wanted dictated a lot of the stuff, right? We didn't just say, oh, what's available? Let's shoehorn that in. We went, we had a hell of a lot of issues integrating the Saver account. But we wanted it, and we knew we needed it. And it wasn't like it was, oh, that'd be nice to have. Let's go. It was
essential.
It was essential, and I don't think we left a lot of features on the cutting room floor, if any. I think everything we built, we wanted.
Probably once you made that shift, like you said, to be the guide through the process, that's probably when everything got more clear and became all must-haves rather than they'd be nice to haves.
Yeah, totally.
So with the Saver account, what challenges did you have? Was that just integrating with banking accounts, or what was it?
Yeah, it's not an API. Oh, now I'm talking way out of my depth. But,
Which is what you learn when you go through
exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
Your understanding anyway.
I'm still with two tech guys, so I find it really hard to blag my way through this. They're not APIs. Help me now, but I reckon they're file based.
Yeah. So what we know of, file transfer protocol type stuff, maybe some secure stuff, but transferring files day to day.
Put a file in some place, you have to then read that file from that place and then figure out how to work with some, or is it like 1970s antiquated system or something?
But it works.
Yeah.
Right.
That's why it's been changed in 40 years.
I love it. Like I hated it before, now I love it, right? Because I know it just works.
Yeah, it works all the time. And that's the things you learn during the process. As a non-tech, you don't know what you're walking into. You just said, I want a Saver account. That shouldn't be hard. You just would have sent money to account. But you found that, some challenges along the way.
And then as developers, if that came to us and we were like, all right, we speak to the bank, like, we can integrate with you. And then we'd be like, all right, there's one tick off.
Yes.
Not knowing what's actually involved in that process.
What that is.
What does the word integrate mean?
Yeah, and it was that was a big challenge because we said it's just it's an account, guys. It's got a number. It can't be that hard. It cannot be that hard.
Yeah, sometimes you don't realise what cannot be that hard is in tech, so you don't know what you don't know. So interesting stuff. So you got the Saver account. How did you find your devs? Was it through UX, UI guy? How did you find it? Did you go through multiple devs or just one development team?
It was probably refer a friend 2 or 3 times.
Okay.
So I'd gone to university with an extremely capable dev, and I would have loved for him to have probably come into the business, but at the time that wasn't a possibility.
Okay.
He recommended that we chat to sort of somebody who he had worked with, who works more as sort of freelance. We spoke to him. He was sort of busy.
Yes.
But then he introduced us to eventually the software team who we settled upon. I think referrals for us was huge. I would not know where to start to go vet
a dev team.
Dev team.
It's like us. We'd always say people don't look for us in the yellow pages.
No.
It's the projects are too big and too risky to try and just a lucky dip like that.
It was really. Again, I look back and I go, for top 5 lucky moments in GigSuper, having the right software guys, probably number 1.
Able to deliver the outcome you're looking for in a reasonable amount of time. You got launched in 2 years, right? So 2 years is quite a short amount of time in this game when you're designing a product from UX right through conceptually understanding the problems, digging in, what's the best result for the customer, and then actually building it.
And it's not like
a long time.
your product could have been an MVP and work without all the pieces. It's not one of those kind of products.
MVP is really interesting.
Yeah. What does it mean to you?
Not what it meant 2 years ago.
Okay. What did it mean 2 years ago?
So 2 years ago, it was the product we have today.
Yep.
That for me was MVP.
Yep.
And, you know, I think this, man, we were launching a new business.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and we were launching something in super, and we thought at the time, look, it's got to look impressive, it's got to look safe and secure, it's got to have all the bells and whistles, and we didn't want to be like the stodgy super funds that are out there. Sorry.
You can throw that in there.
But, you know, we had an idea that we wanted this thing to look good. And, you know, that was MVP 2 years ago, what we have today, which I think is a really, really cool looking product.
Yeah.
But, you know, you asked me what MVP is now for our product, and I think it's very different.
Okay.
And I think it would have been a lot more human.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know if we would have needed everything that we have now in the app. I think we could have helped a lot of people 2 years ago.
Interesting.
Yep. So just by bringing in more human element rather than trying to build all the automations?
Yeah.
So maybe just start solving the problem and no tech at all?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, okay.
Absolutely.
So paper-based.
Well, yeah,
to a degree, like you could technically probably start with that. You
could have borrowed what was already available, put the human language around it, and, you know, talk someone through it.
Yep.
And we could have started that 2 years ago.
Okay.
Now, absolutely 100% not scalable.
But not probably, from a long-term perspective, that could have been the stopgap between bringing it on first customer, right? Because then they'll just evolve into the platform and things get a lot easier.
And that's not too scaled, that process. It's just to get you through.
Yeah,
but the learning too from the process would have been outstanding during that time, because you're working with actual people, solving real problems, understanding their experiences.
Could have been different solutions you come up with, different products as well.
Absolutely. You know, because it's really easy as a product developer to get stuck in your own product because there's no criticism.
Yeah, that's your vision.
It's your vision, and I'm not going to release this thing until it's perfect because anything below that will invoke criticism and that'll destroy you. Get it out there, get the criticism, you know, suck it up a bit, because that's invaluable. And so, you know, when we talk about, you know, adopting the guide mentality, you know, that I think this is where it came into its own. And what we did, you know, one of the things I'll refer back to the presentation, but one of the presentations is, you know, we show this great product that we built, and we have these early users who love the product. But, you know, hand on heart, you know, they might not know exactly 100% know how the product works. Yeah,
they get they look at the concept, especially when you're showing something in a presentation form. But they're not in it. They're not working with it. They're not traveling through the journey of it without having you there.
They don't understand
for them.
Yeah.
And they don't understand the 44 awesome features we've put in it.
Well, they might not even care.
Absolutely right. You know,
and can you see that shiny button? We spent like 3 weeks on that.
And it's you know, we have this, we have that, we have a roadmap of all this other really cool stuff to come in. And they're like, man, I'm just really, really happy to have a super fund who is incredibly human. Who I can phone, speak to, who doesn't talk to me like I'm a legal disclaimer. And for them, that recognition piece was enough. And that was the light bulb moment for us, where we go, wow. Yes, I think they'll end up obviously loving the product and using the product and all the 44 wonderful features that are in. Maybe not 44, but there will be. But, you know, that's where I think, you know, when you look at being the guide, you understand more that it's a journey.
Yep.
And it's a journey from, for us in particular, it was a journey from, look, I don't even know if superannuation is a thing for me. Right? And then you can't take that insight to the to the problem and then offer a solution of automated tax deductions.
It's the worlds apart for the person.
Yeah.
Miles apart, right? But that's what we had.
Yeah, okay.
Like I've built a way for you to be able to automate your tax, your contributions to super, and automating the intent to claim that as a tax deduction. And I think that's wonderful. To the person who is making a contribution to super and worried about having to make an intent to claim, and I say, don't worry about it, I've automated it.
Yeah.
Well, that's great at that point.
Yes.
But for us, that client journey of like, I'm not sure if superannuation is for me, can you just remind me the benefits of super? Because I feel like it's something where I just lock my money away for retirement.
Yeah.
I can picturing my dad who's a self-employed brickie.
Yep.
He'd be under that approach.
Yeah.
I don't think he ever put $1 into his super in all his life.
20%.
Yeah.
20% of self-employed Australians will retire with nil super.
Yeah, and those old school tradies, again, probably nothing.
Yeah, exactly. And my mate's dad's a concreter. And, won't drop a name now, but he works weekends, cash jobs, just to
right
make
now,
ends meet.
How old is in older?
Well, he's retired.
He's retired.
He's early 70s.
Yeah.
But they did the classic thing, right?
Yeah.
I bought a house, maybe I bought two homes.
Yeah.
One I rent, but that rental yield might not be enough.
No, not to live off. Yeah.
And so either you sell that property, big old whack of tax,
Yes.
or you go out and do a bit of work. And so, being the guide for us was being able to go, right, what are your problems from the very beginning? And then mapping out a journey of problems. And eventually you'll get to the point where the user's problem, is that they don't know how to get started. And that's where we'll be able to present them with the app.
Yes.
Right? You get started, hey, here's your plan. It'll take you 15 minutes, log in, here's the 1, 2, 3 wizard that we've created that helps guide you through, and hey, it's automated. But until they're at the I'm ready to get started, my problem is I'm not sure how to get started phase. Man, you've got a lot of work to do in your business.
Yeah, educating them, right? It's at the point of once they're into, I'm happy to sign up, they're sold.
Yep.
They're not going to come and look at this thing and pretend that they know anything about super if they don't. If they've got no intent to put money in this thing, they're not signing up.
It's going to be the last thing on their mind. Yeah.
I don't know why. I don't know why I'm doing this. That's not the beginnings of a really great relationship.
Just thinking of it, it's strange that when you work for someone, it's mandatory that you have to pay super, but a self-employed doesn't have any sort of regulation like that.
Correct.
Yeah.
So if you're self-employed, it's voluntary.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so the easiest thing to do is to say, hey, you know what, this is all a little bit too hard. I'm going to put this in the too hard basket.
Yep.
And I'll get around to it. Right? I'll get around. Maybe your accountant reminds you. Maybe if you've got like parents who have retired, they'll probably make note of it. But you can put it in the too hard basket. It's voluntary.
Yep.
And that's what we battle with.
Yes, it's really about selling that story. So when you started the business, you focused on product. Have you seen a shift in that to now being the back to the user, back to the people out there, educating them why I should be putting in super? Because clearly there's some massive benefits from a tax perspective. Have you seen yourself just becoming more of a business with a technology product rather than the technology business?
Yeah, I'd wish we'd shown more discipline.
Yeah.
12 months ago to say, for every $5 I put into product, I'm going to put X dollars. I'm not sure what that number is.
Yeah.
Into some of those more downstream, upstream, activities.
So start banking up your savings account.
Like it.
But I'd wish we'd gone out and at the time created more education, in video form.
Yep.
Created maybe doing podcasts. we've done that now. We've got an ebook, we've got videos.
Yep.
We're trying to engage as to why super.
Yep.
Because I just don't think people know why.
Yeah. So like in that customer funnel, you said there's 1.2 million people that are self-employed.
Yep.
How many of them are like the ideal customer that know they need super? And then how much is like a market that with education you can convert into that?
Oh, look, I like to think they're all potential.
Yeah, they're all
clients.
potential, but how many are like already now knowing what super is and knowing I need to do it? And that's probably where
How
that
big's the gap?
education comes from.
Because there can be a
I think-
short-sightedness in the space, right? I'm self-employed,
Yep.
keep the money in my pocket, I've got extra cash right now. And that's the problem. And because they've got that opportunity, you take that short-sighted approach.
Yeah.
But no one really thinks
And
about
they're not forced to do it.
You're not forced to do it. I mean, to sort of try to answer the question, Anthony, it's probably, the stats.
Yep.
There are stats around that.
Uh-huh.
I think there's a stat out there saying 10% of voluntary contributions to super were claimed as a tax deduction back in 2015 or 16.
Okay.
10%.
10%.
Far up.
So 10% of people who put money into superannuation claimed it as a tax deduction. And I'll probably ask you for a bit of here's a bit of trivia. If the maximum amount is, let's say it's 25 grand now, what do you reckon the mean and median contribution were? The number's very similar, so it's one number.
Self-employed,
For voluntary contributions.
I'm going to say $5
I
grand.
reckon $1,000.
Yeah, it's 21 grand.
Oh, wow. So almost
a
all
lot less than that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what that
Nothing.
is,
Yeah.
either wealthy people
Yeah.
who have an advisor
Yeah, just putting the 25k in.
going, you
Yeah.
need to put this in to minimise your tax,
Mhm.
or it's people probably approaching retirement
Yeah.
Trying
who
to
say putting money into the tax
Get it.
into the tax
Okay.
benefit,
Uh-huh.
and so it's not your everyday,
Yeah.
right? It's not the self-employed guy who's putting in 3 grand, 4 grand, 5 grand, and claiming it as a tax deduction. They're not doing it, and that's our battle. Well, that's what we want to, as a vision. We want people just doing it properly.
Yeah,
Yep.
so it's just an education battle now.
Yeah, even $10.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we start out at $10. Get the habit.
Yeah,
Get the habit going.
It's a habit. It's like a savings habit. It's exactly the same thing.
Yep.
The advantage is as you're employed, it just happens automatically, so you don't have to worry about it. Yeah.
Yeah, which is an issue, right? Because when something so important is done for you, and you don't necessarily understand why it's been done,
Yep.
how it's been done,
Yep.
you're losing a lot of control because there's a knowledge gap.
Yep.
You explain to people that what's the tax rate in super?
My knowledge is it's 15%.
15%.
Yeah.
How many people, how many people, and we don't give them much credit too, right? Because we go, oh, what's your salary? And you go, I earn, 72 grand a year plus super.
Yep.
Like, we don't even give it a number.
Yeah.
It's called plus super. It doesn't even sound like my money.
Yes.
It's your money.
Yeah.
Is that the employer is obliged to put it into super for you.
Yeah.
And it's done concessionally.
Yeah.
When you go out as being self-employed, it's, I'd love people to have that mentality too. So, what do you earn? What are you going to charge yourself out at? Add super. Add 10% to it.
Yeah.
We have to pay the GST. And it's the same thing in super. Just put bloody super away. So yeah, 10% tax for GST, 10% tax for
Give it
super
to you.
treated that way.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's a tax deduction.
Yeah. So really, the game's changed for you. It's more about the education. It's
Yeah.
The technology may not even have to be there. If you actually went around and just educated everyone, brought them on as consulting clients within a fund, you could probably achieve it, but not a scalable, right?
And not scalable.
Yeah.
That's where the technology becomes invaluable. So our technology, I had to map out our onboarding flow last week, and I was like, this would fail every UX UI rule ever because there are so many screens.
Yeah.
But we added a hell of a lot of tutorial screens just to try to get that education across.
Yeah, okay.
And not just blindly put in money, and we wanted to sort of explain the how and the why, because we feel like if you do that, you get a better understanding as to why you're doing it.
Yep. in reality, for any product, anything out there, you need to educate people why they should be using this thing. And you've got clear benefits here because they're missing out. They're gonna, if you haven't saved any super, by the time 65, you're basically going on a pension, unless you're going to sell your house or you've got a big lump sum of money saved somewhere. So it is all about that user and that story. And I think what you're saying here is focus on the user, educate them along the journey, and they're going to be your first point of call to come to when you actually, they come in and decide to jump into super, really, because you've guided them from not knowing anything right through to actually a product to jump into and actually start saving.
You'll be the expert for self-employed super in their eyes.
Yeah, and I think you know, that's always easily said too. You know, listen to your customer.
Yeah,
I had no idea where to do that. Like you know, I'm naturally an introvert. I find it probably hard to stop someone on the street and ask them about, you know, what are some of the super insights they can share. Like that is not something they would have been comfortable doing.
And you're on a podcast today. What am I?
I'm getting better.
Otherwise, you like go down to where they're building new houses and start talking to the tradies, or like that could have been an approach, but that's not something you normally think of when you're trying to do this.
That's not something that I'm naturally good at.
Yeah.
And you know, if you want to talk about where we got lucky in the business, you know, I'll put them all as number one, otherwise they'll get angry at me. So equal number ones is hiring a comms person who made our business human. And I cannot stress the difference in our business to when we brought Branca in.
Would you say it's luck, or is it because you've gone through this journey
and learning?
So you've got now experience, you know what you need, rather than saying it's luck?
Probably luck, Anthony. We found Branca on LinkedIn. And she was at the time prolific on LinkedIn. You know, she was writing some great stuff, doing some great things, and you know, I sort of just reached out for a bit of advice, and she was self-employed. Or had been self-employed, was starting her own little side hustle, and sort of ran her through what we were doing, and I think she was in for the fight.
She signed up for a super account?
She's now a co-founder.
Oh, perfect.
So you know,
you decided a different path. So you've got no technical people on your team, correct?
That's correct.
So you've got a communications person.
Yep.
Yourself with a background in trading and finance background, actually an engineer, and your other business partner is?
Sales.
Okay.
But you've got a good technical team that you can rely on.
Yes.
Correct.
Yeah. No, very, very good.
And we copped a lot of flack for that.
From investors?
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is, you know, we found out this is not traditional.
Yeah, normally they have a technical advisor or someone on board.
Something on board, yeah.
To like be your middleman to the tech team, effectively, or coordinate with them or whatever it is.
Yeah, and we just couldn't afford that. You know, every time we'd try that, right? We'd go out, we'd speak, and they go, "Oh, you're crazy not to have a CTO in your business."
Yes.
And we said, "Oh, Jesus, all right." So you go out, you speak to somebody, and they'll just go, "Look, that's $3,000 a month just for
advice."
Jeez, all right.
Those conversations, do they make you feel like you're going in over your head and you might get ripped off in the tech space because you didn't have that knowledge now?
Yeah, I felt more uncomfortable talking to the potential CTO than I did talking to our tech team.
Well, that's not what you want.
No, not at all.
Especially if you're trying to hire a CEO. I guess that's what you mean before the...
I think we had a trusted relationship with our tech team, and bringing somebody else in, I thought maybe would have upset
the apple cart.
Yeah.
If you've got that good working relationship, they're there to help you. They're not just there to take money off you.
Yes.
Then that's going to make a big difference.
Yeah, and there's a lot of transparency in the process.
Yeah.
And that made me feel comfortable. And I wasn't sure where somebody else would come in to vet that. I wasn't sure. I wasn't sure the value because...
Yeah.
Well, you're getting the outcomes you're looking for.
Well, getting the outcomes were going. It was built... I mean, you know, agile, maybe it was in an agile way. We're always given stuff. You know, we were able to have, good debate, particularly with the engineer.
Yep.
And I felt that's when I felt most comfortable is when I'd get pushback from the engineer.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you expect that. So anyone's listening, if you're working with a tech team, they just say yes.
Yeah.
Just get a little bit concerned because
Yeah,
you want your people on the other end going to actually debate you, and I think it's important.
And
'cause
give
you
you
want
feedback,
that feedback loop.
pushback, alternatives, other ways
Collaborative.
of doing something.
And they care then too.
Yeah.
Yeah, if
Like
you're
it's
getting
a
a team
massive thing of care, really.
yeah, a team of yes is going to be the quickest way to make shit software.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's no easy way to say it. Like,
Yeah, especially when you're somebody who, like myself, who you know comes up with a crazy idea a day.
yeah, and they're like, yep, we'll drop yesterday's and start today's.
Yeah, and I can see like how that wouldn't have. Yeah, that wouldn't have
worked.
been
Yeah,
the way.
that CTO story we had. Melanie in our second episode, she was building up her own product. Got a CTO on board. He said to take it overseas, and then
Picked the team.
He picked
Ran
the
the
team and
team.
did everything, and it went to shit anyway.
Yeah. So it's not
Because
the answer
he wasn't
all
there
the
for
time.
her. He wasn't
Yeah.
there for the product. He didn't get behind it.
Yeah.
So he just did a shit job of it anyway.
Yeah, and that's fruity language for a podcast.
Yeah.
that we're on. Can I?
Yeah.
I've been holding my tongue.
I should have let you know earlier.
All right, I've got my Broadmeadows roots. I'm gonna start. So, yeah, it's really hard. Who do you trust?
Yeah.
Because you could. I mean, I'd always argue the point and say, look, I could go hire, or we can go out and hire 2 or 3 people,
Yep.
and I still wouldn't know if that code's any good.
No.
No.
Yeah, you don't have the
That's
technical
one of the
background.
things that you're putting in the hands of your development team.
Yeah.
Yep. And that's why you probably got pushback from your advisors or your potential investors
Yep.
or investors saying, are we getting the right outcomes here? But I think you need to really do investigation. You obviously would have investigated the team you're working with, the type of products they delivered. And I know who they are. They've been around for 20 years. So they obviously got some credibility to be around that long. They're in Australia. It gives you a little bit more sound confidence that they might be able to deliver something.
Yeah. And if you had gotten your friend on board from uni as your CTO,
Yep.
you would have been comfortable because you know him, you know he's got your best interests at heart, and he's not
Correct.
there for the $3,000 a month.
Was that an option
To have him on board as a
as a CTO, just or
Yeah,
even
he
just
was-
advising? Was that an option?
yeah, I think I did ask.
Yeah.
Actually,
Uh-huh.
and he's just so busy.
Yeah. Okay. So it just didn't work out that way.
Just didn't work out.
Yep.
Yeah.
But that was the beginning. But as we got more and more comfortable,
Mm.
you know, I start to see the value in the model that
Yes.
we opted for.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm.
Because now I realise that, you know, we've got an engineer,
Yep.
you know, we've got back-end devs, we've got API specialists, we've got front-end guys,
Mm-hmm.
you know, we've got database dudes.
Yep.
You know, to go out and hire all those people
Uh-huh. And manage them.
and manage them. And, you know, perhaps they had never worked together, or most likely had never worked together.
Mm-hmm.
So manage those relationships,
Yes.
that new team, you know, to be able to just drop a team in
Mm.
and for them to become part of our team.
Uh-huh. Sounds easy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Funnily enough, we're doing an equity crowdfund,
Okay.
which will kick off in
Yep.
the next
Nice.
next couple of weeks.
Do you know how can people get interested in that? Because I think your product's got some big potential. So yeah, how do people get involved in that?
Yeah, keep an eye out. We will be, the company's called, or the platform is called Virtual.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure if you Google Virtual and GigSuper in the coming weeks,
Yep.
You'll see a fair bit.
That might be by the time we release this, we can put the
Yeah.
link out.
I'll
Oh, we have the link?
Yeah, we'll put
Ready
the
to
link
go?
up there for you, Darren.
Let us know when the link comes out. We'll put it on. Happily.
But I understand that a couple of the guys in the in our software team are gonna get involved.
Yeah,
and
cool.
and buy some shares.
Yeah, nice.
Which is great, right?
Yeah.
Because
They're brought in, they get the concept, they
they
understand what
get
you're
that
trying
concept,
to
they
do.
understand that
Yeah.
they're part of it,
Mm.
and you know, I feel like we have an astoundingly good tech
Yes.
team.
Yep, that's good, and it's collaborative, right? So look for a team that's collaborative. It is a risk too, because you're just coming there, and I understand that the advice about getting the CTO, because they can maybe vet it.
Yep.
But then you have to also get the right CTO, because if
Yep.
you're not the right person with the right background trying to vet a product they've known nothing about, that's another problem. That's,
Now-
I think, the problem Melanie had.
Yeah. Now, talking how you're saying they're going to get involved into the crowdfund and get some shares, did you try and offer them the startup special? Which is like, I'll give you some equity for some
I
free
reckon I'll
development.
offer equity every time I walk in there. Every time the bill comes up, I'm like, you sure you don't want that equity?
Yeah.
We
Startup
see that,
special.
that's a tactic we see from a lot of people.
Yeah, really? I'm not the
Yeah.
first one to do that.
No,
No.
I started giving
Oh.
that term.
Yeah, it is a startup special.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I thought I was alone.
No, there's a lot of people they use that and then they just try and drive that for the bottom dollar, and they don't care about the relationship that comes with it. Because if they get involved at that level, it's not just now a development partner; they're part of your business effectively. They're investors.
The challenge with that and putting it out there, if you're an equity, if you say, yeah, we'll do it for equity, you're an investor, but you're also responsible for delivery now. So you've got two responsibilities here.
Yeah.
Not just one. I haven't put my cash in and just come back in 3 months, check in, see how it's going. Cash that I've earned already. Generally, you might be working with a young guy or a couple of them, maybe not so experienced because they'll jump in and try that.
Yep.
And might not be the right people anyway. And then they're now responsible for delivery. And they got some equity that's worth 0 at the moment. If they don't deliver, then it's still worth 0. So it's a very challenging environment to work in if you go down that path.
Yeah, and they're always going to be on your cap table if you do become a success, and that's a whole different problem potentially.
Yeah. So you built most of your tech in Australia, tech team in Australia, UX in Australia. So it would have been significant investment in terms of dollars, I would imagine.
Correct.
Yeah. Why did you go down that path and not something a little bit more cost effective in the eyes of some people, throwing it overseas, doing something different that way?
Oh, that was never an option.
Why?
Because we didn't know what we were doing.
Yeah.
No.
What was the thinking there?
I love the fact that I could jump in the car and be at the offices of our development guys in 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah, we said it's a good thing. Like they're close and you can work with them.
Yeah. Look, I'm sure not everybody has the benefit of having that physical proximity.
Yes.
But to have people there where I could drop in weekly, get an update, hear the good news and the bad news face to face, for me was non-negotiable. Had they been on the other side of the town, I'm not sure I would have been so excited to go with them, to be honest.
Yeah, okay.
The fact that they were so easy to get to, so available. Like you said, it was a massive investment.
Yeah.
And there was no way that I was going to not be able to walk past and drop in and say hello.
So in the context of that, how long did you spend in the offices, in workshops, problem solving? Yes, roughly. What did you spend with the team? How collaborative was it?
Yeah, look, I think it was quite collaborative. We were there every day. I think I always volunteered to come and work from in there, but I don't think we never needed that. Looking back, one of the challenges, something that would have probably, a change I would have made was to be more, so we essentially just give the IT guys the wireframes for a particular piece of work.
Okay. Yep.
And let's say it was like the insurance piece or the investment piece. And then we just almost expect them to know what button did what.
Yeah, so they didn't have the context or the story.
I think we gave it to them without context,
so they had a
which
bit
was
of
amazing looking back.
Battle for them to try and sort it out.
Which they're now fantastic at it because they fully understand
the product
and how it worked. And to be fair, I think the UI and the UX was quite intuitive. But I think looking back now, we should have maybe made more effort to say, hey, clicking this button does this, clicking that does that, rather than have them try to infer that.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, from our experience, it's the UX and the developers or the engineers need to work together.
Hand in hand.
Because the UX guys can make something, and then that might introduce 3 weeks of development for you. But the engineer can go, if you do it this way, you might save 2.5 weeks, and he just has to make it look good.
Yeah.
So it's different. They can pull each other back and forwards.
Yeah, we didn't have that luxury.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the compromises where you say, look, if I had a full team of people,
definitely
we could have done that. But we went out, did the UX, UI, wireframe stuff, and then delivered those chunks of work to the devs. We just weren't able. That's a resource. That's a lovely thing to be able to do. We didn't have that resource.
Yeah, get it.
Well, you do what you can with what you have, really. And
I like to ask this question. So Martin of 2017, 18, just starting out, just about to walk into this, how would you approach it now, back in 2017, 18, with all this learning and experience? What would you do? What would be your first step about building GigSuper and the product?
I would go out and speak to as many self-employed people as possible.
Yep.
And get as many insights down on paper and then onto a wall. and then I would break up, take all those insights down, and arrange them in a framework.
Okay.
And that framework, the framework that we've chosen to arrange stuff is a story brand framework. It's a methodology developed by Donald Miller out of Nashville, and
so story brand.
Brand.
Is there a book around that?
Yes, there is.
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
Yep. You know, choose whatever framework. You know, I'm not saying this. You know, we just found one that worked for us. It made sense for us as a business, but that breaks down all those insights into 7 categories, and so it gives you a way of trying to work out, you know, what are the problems, what are the real problems. So, you know, for example, you know, with superannuation, if you go out and ask somebody and say, okay, why don't you do super? And they'll come back and say, look, I don't have the time. Right? You go, okay, you don't have time to do super.
That's the surface level problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll go build an app that sorts that out in 3 seconds. Problem solved.
Yeah.
Oh, no, it's not time. It's actually that it's like, you know, it's really complicated. You're like, well, okay.
Yeah.
You know, my 3-second app now is not really
solving a problem.
Not solving a problem.
Yeah.
And so being able to like break those, you know, there's the 5 whys. Yeah. So then you go why, and then you end up getting to like the real problems.
Yeah.
And invariably those problems are around, you know, your own internal issues people have. Like, not everyone is particularly comfortable with financial products.
It's uncertainty, right? If they're not clear on what it is, what it means, they're uncertain, they've never touched it, don't get it.
In general, no one gets taught that stuff.
Correct.
Unless you've got an interest or your family is doing it, then you just pick that up.
Yeah. Yeah,
and what's worse than sort of not having the knowledge is what they call, you know, a lack of agency.
Okay.
And that's when, I'm going to butcher the definition here, but in my mind, it's when you say, look, even if I sat down for a day and tried to work out what this JavaScript thing does, I don't think I can work it out.
Yep.
Right? So it's not even saying that, you know, I'm not even going to attempt. I'm not even going to attempt it because I don't even think I can do it.
Yep.
And that's a lot worse than saying, look, I just don't have the time. You know, I can do most things if I gave it the time. But it's those things in life where you say, look, I don't even think I can do it, so I'm not even going to try.
Yep.
Yeah, that's just stopping, right? You're never going to pick it up if you're in that mindset. That's a belief thing.
Yep.
And that's a limitation of belief. So the 7 categories you mentioned: problems.
Yep.
What are some of the others? Just give people
the categories are, you know, what does the user want?
Yep.
Simple one, but we never had that initially.
Yeah.
You know, so trying to work out in real sound bites, this is a real skeleton script. You know, what does the user want? You know, what's the villain? Or who's the villain?
Yep.
Who or what is the villain? So for us, the villain is the complexity.
Makes sense.
Look, there are often time can be a villain, but you know we went on complexity. Problem. There are 3 levels of problem. You know, there's the external problem, the internal problem, and the philosophical problem. So you wrap things up as problem, want, you know, the guide.
Yep.
That's you. You know, and how are you able to show empathy and authority? And then there's, you know, what does failure look like? And then, you know,
failure to the business, the product, or the customer?
The customer.
Okay.
Yeah. What is their what is you know
what is their
what are you trying to
failure
avoid?
65.
Yeah.
Walking out of a
paper.
job with nil in the balance.
Yeah.
That's your failure point.
Yeah.
Yep. Get it.
And then ultimately, what does success look like?
The opposite.
The opposite.
Yep.
You know, what is that? You know, we're going to avoid the failure. It's the salt to every story.
Yes.
But ultimately, as the guide, you want your customers to succeed.
Yes.
Right.
Yep.
You do.
They get what they want. They succeed. And then the big one, which often gets sort of ignored, is the transformation. And the transformation is the thing that, you know, people will talk about. So if you want talkability in a product or your service, it's the transformative part that actually gets people talking.
So that's the transformation of their knowledge gap that you feel. What are you referring to there?
Yeah, so
Because the transformation could be a long-term thing, right?
transformation can be a long-term thing.
Yeah.
In life in general,
Uh-huh.
I don't know if your kids,
Yeah.
if
Yeah.
you're
Transformational events, yes.
yeah, the transformation. If you've ever had friends who had kids,
Yep.
all of a sudden that's the only thing they want to talk about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, oh man, like
It consumes every minute
Yes.
of your day.
yeah, consume because like
Because they do.
yeah, because the individual's transformed.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm no longer the person I used to be,
Mm-hmm.
and now I've hopefully become a better version
Yeah.
of myself.
And they're responsible for someone else.
Yes.
Yeah, but you've become a better version, hopefully, of yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's only my take on it is that it's only when somebody can sort of say, look, I'm a better version of me, that they're then willing to share that story.
Yes.
Yep.
So if you want people to talk about your product, how are they becoming better versions of themselves? And one of our testimonials, I love it, says, I feel like a proper adult now.
I like
Yeah.
it. Very
How
good.
awesome is that,
Yeah, it's
right?
great
You're sort of gone, you're working, you're doing all adult things.
Yes.
But it's like, it's that super bit. I'm
Yeah.
paying myself super.
Yes.
Wow.
I'm
Like
taking
the-
responsibility
nice
taking
for my future
responsibility.
self.
Yeah.
There's a nice little marketing
Yes.
avenue for
I
you.
feel like
Yeah,
an
I know,
adult
we
now.
need to-
Go on TikTok and start I'm adulting this memes.
Awesome, mate. Well, you've mentioned nothing about the product there, really. It's about the customers' wants, customers' needs, core problems, how you can transform their thinking and what they're doing with the business, what the business stands for, your guide, so how you're guiding people through a journey. I think that's a very different conversation to the person of 2017 would have started from, clearly.
Yeah.
When was the first time you had a conversation with actual people that were self-employed that didn't have super or were looking to invest in super?
Oh, whenever.
Yeah.
Jumping in an Uber.
Yep.
Getting the internet changed over.
Yep.
Having a
Yeah.
a clean house.
Yes.
And the cleaner coming in.
Yep.
Yeah, conversations.
Yeah, conversations.
You
So
know, you
have those
become-
conversations.
Have those
Yeah.
conversations.
Yeah.
Be the boring guy at the barbecue.
Yeah. Talk about the same thing all
Ask
the time.
people about super. Be that guy.
Yeah.
Yep.
Nice.
Yeah, so the product has now just become a tool to deliver on those solutions. It's
Yes.
not the solution.
Correct.
Yeah.
And it's actually, in a way, liberating as a product owner,
Uh-huh.
where you don't have to become this sort of hero. It's not about your story.
Yeah.
And I think once you let go of that and you say it's actually about the customer, and it's about their journey, and it's about their success and their that is so much more fulfilling than it is you trying to feel
is.
that
Yeah,
yourself.
they're the hero in their own story because they're the ones making the change and making the effort now.
Yeah,
You're
and
giving them a tool.
Yeah. And selfishly, that feels great.
Yeah.
It does because
it's
you're
good.
helping. When we help people, I think what stats are: you give someone money, you're going to feel good for a day. You take money off someone, you're going to feel good for a minute. So there's all these things about giving, and we are a giving and social being. So we enjoy that, and if we can give and help, that's generally a better place to come from than I'm looking for a transaction. How do I generate some cash for me? It's not all about
That's
you.
the reason why we're doing these podcasts. We don't
Exact same
making any
reason.
money. There's no sponsorship. We're not paying anyone. It's just we want to help people who are going through a journey, share other people's stories.
And
if
hopefully
we
we can learn something
Yeah.
from this.
If we can
about-
help one person, we've done something good.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
On that note, Martin, gigsuper.com.au.
Correct?
Yep.
Anywhere
check it
else they can find you if they want to reach out to you?
Reach out, LinkedIn,
Yeah.
Yep.
obviously. Just website.
Website.
Will be the best.
All right. We'll put all the links in there for everyone to see once it's out.
And the crowdfunding link, send me
The
that. I'll put it in
crowdfunding
there.
will be, I think, closes,
Yep.
depending on when this goes live.
Yeah.
The crowdfund will
Yeah.
close probably at the end of April.
All right, we'll try to get it out before
Oh,
then.
we'll do it earlier for you, mate.
Yeah, that'd be
happy to help.
fantastic.
No problems.
So,
very good.
own a brick in the wall.
Yeah.
That'd be awesome.
Yep. Cheers,
Cool.
Martin.
All right, thanks,
for
Martin.
coming
Thanks
out.
for coming
Really
in.
appreciate your time and sharing your journey and story.
Thank you.
All right.
Thanks, mate.